All right, hey guys, Sam back with you here Monday, March 5th, and our second coin we're doing today, per the voting that we do amongst members every day. So here, this is Ripple to the dollar was the coin that was voted on. Now I've got it up here. This is a 4-hour. This is Ripple to the dollar on Bitstamp. So if you look at it here now. I'm not immediately inclined to be trading this as a 1, 2, 3. I don't think we need to consider that just yet. There's a case to be made for that. See, if this is a 1, we haven't overlapped that high, and so that's an awfully deep correction. So even if what I'll often do if it's that far, I'll go to log scale and take a look at that. Then you might get a different view. Potentially you've got a 1, 2. So if you pulled here from this as the low of the 2 and went up to that high, if I get it right on there. Well, here's the 786. Now I've got the 887 on here, square root of 786. It comes into play. It would be the very, very last stand for a retracement here at the 887. You could make that case that you've got a 1, 2, and this is the 3, 4. I don't think we need to worry about that just yet. That would be more something we'd be looking at should we take out the old high. So we might be back revisiting that. Right now, we've just got a very deep correction. So I'm going to take it out of log scale, and we'll just dig in here a little bit. Okay, so the question becomes, why does it stop there? Okay, there's no structural support or resistance, nothing there. So we want to try and dig into that low and say, is that a good technical low? And if it is, then could this be that we've got a 5 wave of an impulsive wave here? Certainly looks like it would be impulsive, and we've just put in a second. We're moving sideways, and potentially now we're off to the perhaps challenge these highs here so that we have a contention there. So this, again, I come back to why does it stop there? Well, you could make the case here. You've got 5 waves down. There's an A, B, and a C. So, I've done this. We've done this coin before. This was the last pivot swing that was very technical. So if I pull from the proposed 4th here, where we get our B wave, we go right into the golden zone. Then you can see we come right down here. So algo activity, no surprise in Ripple. So there's the perfect sell. They go right down. There's the slight front run on their target, and we get the reaction off. So that gives us confidence that this is a technical pivot down here. So given that case, and that we have a completed 5 wave, and then we get this long ABC. Now we've moved off of it, and we're essentially now just moving sideways. It's pretty easy to spot here. We're stuck in this range here. So where could we be going? Well, can we get 5 waves on this that would make sense? Well, you'd have to consider this pull here as areas of resistance we're going to run into, right? Again, this is no Elliott wave. This is just what are the algorithms likely to do? That they got paid here on this move down here, so that was a perfect sell for them. So that swing here is going to be likely resistance coming back up. You can see resistance. Here's the 50 reaction, back to the 50 reaction. Now, just because they're there doesn't mean we can't get through it. We just want to know that resistance is going to be there along the way. So if I pull that off and say, all right, what could we have a 1, 2? That looks like it's not quite as high. Maybe we got a truncated 5th there. Let's go down to the 1 hour, see if it makes sense. Well, here's that technical pivot low. Looks like we could have a we may have it here. So we've got come here. So if I work from this as my low as a 1, 2, some sort of a diagonal there, so we get a looks like that's our 3, 4. Pretty reasonable to call this, because we end with an ending diagonal. We get a nice 5 wave there. So that could very well be that we've got a truncated 5th there. We had this wick get up here, and we just don't get as high. But that certainly plays, and we would want to check that. Is there a technical relationship here? So if I take my low, Jesus, if I get my low here. All right, so right to the golden zone for the 4th, right to the Vegas wave, but we come up shy. We come up short of it, and we get this 5 wave structure here, which you can see pretty clearly. Coming out of the golden zone, we get this 3, 4, 5. So that would be a lower degree, and we'd have to come down 1. So that, the structure there, the pattern, that all is a contender here. So if I pull now, if we make the assumption, if we allow for this as a 1, 2, 3, 4 truncated fifth, right? It's not uncommon. It's impulsive. We don't overlap the 1 here. So it's not uncommon for a truncated fifth, given the kind of extreme wicking that we often get in crypto. So given that, well, if that's my completed 1 wave, now I'm going to look at it this way. So if that's my 1, and I'm potentially putting in, I'd be pushing over here because you wouldn't want to be, that would be hard to call that this the 2, and then we went sideways, launching off into the 1 of the 3. I think that's very unlikely. So it just doesn't have the structure and the characteristic of a 3rd wave. So what I see here is potentially, so this would have to go, let's go up to a bigger degree, easy to see. All right, so if this is, well, we could make that case as a 1. I don't love this. This action here is a little ugly. So, you're kind of stuck with that as a potential 2. This just is not characteristic until we get this launch here. So I don't love this here, but rarely would we want to be looking for a triangle in the second. It's just extremely uncommon. So when you get something like that, where it's very uncharacteristic of a second to get a triangle there, that's almost, we're right on the edge of breaking an Elliott rule. The hardcore Elliottians will tell you no triangles in the second. I'm kind of looking at that going, well, until we get here, we just, if you went down to the 4-hour here, it's just, I just don't love it. I don't love it. But so that when you don't have a good fit there, what do? Do you just move away from it? That's definitely a no-no as a second. As a purist Elliott trader, you wouldn't want to see that. But it doesn't mean we can't trade it. Okay, so now you back up and you say, all right, if I've got, I know I've got algos in. I know that was a technical pivot. What are they likely doing? Well, let's go back. Let's go down to the 2-hour here. Boost this up a little bit. We've got definitely upside potential here. So what are they doing? Well, if I take my swing low here up to my proposed wave 1 high. All right, well, we can see that all that's happened here is we've come to the 50 and we've just moved sideways. So we finally get a little launch here. So if we're going to allow for this as a triangle, which I'm going to get a lot of comments about it. It can't be a second. Well, you tell me, what else could it be? Well, so what I see here in a way is I'll remind you, algos dictate. We just use the Elliott wave to try and get in behind them. But the dominant force in the market is, what are the algorithms doing? Where are their targets? Can we tuck in behind them? So as an Elliott trader, let's call it a retracement. So what I've got here is a swing. I've got a 5-wave structure. I've got a retracement. I don't love that pattern, but it potentially plays as just a straight algo move. So I've got the possibility here that this maybe takes up better shape as we start moving here. So this reaction looks impulsive. That's a good sign. So if I dig into that a little bit more closely here, best case here, I've got a 1 wave that's starting here to come out of this low here. Note how it's literally tapping the 50. So if I come up here, if I'm putting in a 2, 3, 4, 5, that's likely going to be the 1 wave. Let's go down a lower degree. So, relative to this 1, 2 here, well, this best case here, we've just put in the 1 wave of the, that could be the 1 wave of the 1 wave of the 3rd wave. There's a lot of upside here if this is going to play as a 1, 2. So all we can really do here, since we don't have the kind of Elliott pattern we would like to see there, is just look for some technical trading off of the pivots. Right? Can we get better structure to shape up here for this second? So we get a buy zone down here. Come here. We get this zone down here. If it's going to play as a second, we've got the little hot pocket down here between the 50 and the 618. So we've got a tradable event. If I go down to the 1 hour, looks like you might have an A wave going in. It's not ideal. We don't know for sure that we have a hard pivot in here. There could be one more kick up on this to give us a better looking 1. It looks like you might have to pull a 1, 2 there, 3, 4, 5. Probably there if I dig down. It's just some of this is not ideal for what you'd look for as an Elliott trader. If you're looking for better clarity in that early wave count, and you want to avoid this kind of price action in a second, next chart. If you're interested in this project, you want to be trading Ripple to the dollar, well, here's the next opportunity for this thing to shape up and give us some better structure. Can we get this kind of action? Can we come down here in a 3 and then get a reaction here out of the area where we'd be anticipating the second? Well, there's your target up here for the third. We know the negative 100 is going to be very close. It's just a good eyeball reference to the 1618, our high probability zone for a third. So if we come down here and we get the move out of here, we get the reaction, well, then I'd be paying attention then. Now here, it's a little bit of a force. I don't know that I would put that on my top 5 candidates of trades I'd be eyeballing right now. It doesn't mean it won't happen. It's not good enough here for me to want to put capital at risk there. I might look at, if I want to trade Ripple, I might see how if it looks any better against Bitcoin. Probably not. Because there's similar patterns of the two. But this is a little troubling here, this sideways action. But at least the pop out of it is impulsive. So the potential is there for this to play as a 2. We get the reaction there. Well, here, the safer trade is wherever we get that 3 is play that 4 into that 5. So you get less upside if you're trading the 4 into the 5. But if you start pulling out in terms of where this could be going, right? Remember, if we're playing this as a 2, well, again, the algo targets are way here. So just the off of this 50 to the first algo target, well, that potentially plays for you right there. And is that going to be, if the 3 is way up here, right? If we're going to get that relative to the largest degree. So if we put it back into context, and you think, okay, if my 3 is up here, well, I'm just dabbling in what potentially is the one wave to try and get into the third wave of the first wave. I mean, there's a lot of upside here where this could go. So if this is 1, 2, then you could make the case here that we would just be putting in, if this is where we're headed, that this could just be the one wave of the third wave of the larger degree. So you've got that contention here. So you've got lots of upside if we're going to start a new trend here. And note here, well, we're just making an internal retracement to the first 5-wave structure, allowing for this as a truncated 5th and a 1 wave. So, it's a candidate. It's a candidate. It's not the prettiest technical setup, but it's certainly there. Nothing wrong with that trade. Tight stop. Stops on the other side of the 65. If you get a reaction, a front run on the 50, that's not a bad place to take a small buy. I wouldn't go overly heavy there because of the question marks about that structure. But certainly a tradable event, we get the reaction. If we get an impulse into the third, then I would be much more confident trading the 4th into the 5th. If that tops up here, we get the algo target. Well, then again, it's all just waves within waves. So where's the 2 here? Because that could be just the 1 wave of the third wave. Well, now we got to push it over in time. So if you get that, well, then you're looking for the second here to go up for the third. If you get this to come clean in 5, and we get that target, and then we come down in 3, well, then now you have more confidence in it, because we can go, all right, whatever it was some sort of a funky 2, and then we get a good 5-wave structure into a 1. Now we're much more comfortable trading it here, because now we've got structure, we've got confirmation here. If we get this up to this target, now we've got a new high. We've got a series of higher highs and higher lows. We're going to expect the second, right? If we're going to get up here, we're not going to go straight. Well, anything's possible in crypto. It's not likely to go straight. Not likely. So if you get this and this comes down in 3, here's a much more confident trade. Much better. Not that there's nothing wrong, you can't, I'm saying don't trade it. I'm just saying maybe, consider the size. Maybe a little smaller here until you get more clarity as to what the market is likely to do here. And these are all, remember, it's just a potential roadmap. This thing could fail at any minute, head back down. We don't know, but that's a potential roadmap that would make sense given the reaction that we have off of this technical pivot. What are the algos doing here? Well, we know they're buying here. They bought, defending, and now we get a reaction. Is that the beginning of it? Where's their target? Well, that target from this 50 is right up here, right? Whoops, if I take that off. So we know that's where they're headed. This is just a potential roadmap as to how they get there. So if I pull that back here, so that's the trade that they're after. right up here, right to the green line. That's what they're after. That's a potential roadmap as to how they get there, and entry points for us to get along for the ride. That's all it is. All right, guys, I'll wrap it there.